Hi, I'm BJ, and this is the Arcane Alienist Podcast. Well, hello everybody. It's been a while. I think my last episode was back in October of last year, October 20th, I think. Um, had a lot going on since then, a lot of stuff going on with family, a lot of stuff going on with my work. Um, Family things are kind of going back to normal. Work is speeding up, but I think I've going to be able to balance it out and maybe get back into the podcasting game a little bit. But for now, I'm going to get through RPG a Day 2023. Uh, Getting a late start. I don't think I've ever actually done this day by day the way a lot of people do. I've done it week by week. I've done it in clumps of time trying to catch up before. Hey, this will be coming out on the 16th. So I'm just going to start over at day one and do the first two um, days, and then I'll just do 2 days a day up through the end of the month, and by the 31st, that'll be 30th and 31st. So that's how we will do this. So we'll get launched with a series of fairly short podcasts, um, and maybe if people call in with some questions or comments, we may get a few other episodes and bonus episodes where I respond to their comments. Although you know, obviously Anchor has disappeared in the time since I last did my episode, and we're on Spotify for podcasters now. We've lost the call-in ability, which was actually not functioning very well on Anchor, even back last fall when I was still doing my last few episodes. But I've still got my Speak Pipe up, and I've still got the capacity for you to email me. Those things are listed here in the show description. So, hey, reach out to me. Hopefully, I haven't lost my entire audience, or maybe I can build it back up a little bit. So let's launch into RPG a Day 2023. Again, shout out to the Casting Shadows blog and autocratic.com, the sponsors of this, and particularly to Anthony Boyd, Casting Shadows, the Runeslinger. As I always say, as far as I know, no immediate relation, but um, I do appreciate him sponsoring this and putting it out there. So let's get into the first two things for day one and day two. And I'm 2 weeks behind. Okay. For August 1st, what is the first role playing game I played this year? Okay, I would have to go way back and look at the calendar, but as far as playing this year, um, I know it's one of two things. It's either Pathfinder 2E or it's Mongoose's Traveler 2E. In either case, those are games ran by Carl Rodriguez of the GMologist Presents podcast. We try to play a game twice a week, um, and we've got two ongoing Pathfinder 2E campaigns. We finished out Abomination Vaults, the first book this year, and then we started Kingmaker, for the Pathfinder 2 version of Kingmaker. Um, in my past recaps, I think I've mentioned in Abomination Vaults, I'm just playing a wizard who's kind of dabbles in alchemy, who's sort of I kind of set him up like he might be kind of a Dr. Frankenstein kind of character. We haven't got into the really weird part of Abomination Vaults to really explore that yet. I don't think I'm going to actually have him do anything too morally questionable, but he is sort of fascinated by the morbid and the strange when it comes to that. And in addition to being a wizard by class, he's also trained in healing. So he's Dr. Eleazar in a Kingmaker. My character is a witch, um, and he's a what do you call it in Pathfinder 2? With the people who come back from the dead. Um, you look it up in the advanced player's guide here that I've got on my right here on my on my desk in front of me. Not a Dhampir. That's not a. It's some kind of bloodline. Not a changeling. Not a tiefling. What do we call those things? Rare backgrounds. Nope. Bear with me. I don't want to click pause because I want to get. I've got a lot more podcasting to do to get caught up, prepared for the week. Changeling, Dhampir, Planar Scions, a Duskwalker. That's what I'm talking. Duskwalker. So there's a Duskwalker, which, and I think somewhere after 3 or 4 sessions, I decided that he is actually Dr. Eleazar's brother. Died when they were both very young, and so the reason Dr. Eleazar is fascinated with these kinds of magic and life and death and flesh warping and things like that is his sort of, way he sort of dealt with the loss of his brother, who doesn't realize that halfway across the continent has reawoken at some point as a Duskwalker, which is kind of a revenant or a return from the dead, who only has vague memories, flashes of memory of who he was before. So anyway, that's my head canon. I doubt that the two cat paths will ever cross in actual play, but those are early games this year, and then it may have actually been Mongoose Traveler 2E that we played first. Back in January. All these 3 games have been ongoing. And Mongoose Traveler, I'm playing a pilot without intending to, just by the random character generation that goes through when you build a character in Traveler. I didn't intend to do this. I just wanted him to be a pilot. Didn't have any other kind of thoughts as to what kind of pilot, but have sort of almost made Han Solo just by random chance. He's not a former smuggler. He's a scout. Who's in the scout service, but he is kind of a swashbuckling, daring, smartass. As I kind of got into character, he just naturally kind of became a smartass, and he wound up getting the piloting and gunfighting and some of the other skills it would make for basically Han Solo if he was not a smuggler, but just sort of a scout. Maybe a little bit of Mal Reynolds from Firefly in there too. He's still kind of an original character, but his name is Roddy McGinnis, and he's since acquired a scout ship reassigned to him, and is sort of still kind of back in the scout service as a freelancer, as part of the crew of travelers he's traveling with, and has had some interesting adventures. And you can find recaps on all these. Carl has done a good job of recapping these games as we've gone through the year this year. So check out the GMologist Presents to hear more about those games. All right, who is my first RPG game master? I think, as I mentioned last year, I talked about my friend Brian. We met in kindergarten, a small school where we only had about 25 or 30 people per class. Just instantly sort of, I don't know why we became friends to begin with, but he and I wound up being interested in the same things, Star Trek and Masters of the Universe, and science fiction and fantasy and all that stuff growing up. And then at some point, he got to be some friends with some older kids that he rode the bus. He lived way out in the country, so kids on his bus route who were into D&D. We brought him into D&D when we were in junior high, and I think long about the 8th grade. Yeah, it was the 8th grade. He hooked me and a couple of our other friends who we'd all grown up together from the time we were 5 and gone to school together into playing D&D. And so Brian was my first game master, first dungeon master. And what's interesting about Brian, he's a very bright guy. I kind of think in looking back, he's probably on the spectrum a little bit. I can, as a clinical psychologist who spends a lot of time now with people on the spectrum, I can look back and kind of say with confidence, I think he was kind of mildly on the autism spectrum, but a really nice guy, really good friend. But because he was so bright and he could remember things so much, he would just thumb through the monster manual and the DMG that he bought, from the guys he played with, and then could recreate adventures for us as the game master with playing with the rest of us. So that was a lot of fun. And I eventually sort of got in with some of those guys. Once we went from 8th grade into 9th grade when we're high school and in the same building with those guys, I got to play with that group a little bit as well throughout high school. Tragically, not much with Brian. The summer we turned 16, he passed away. He took a job to earn some extra money, working on a sand plant near where we grew up, and he fell off the back of a dump truck as it was moving, and it hit him, and he didn't make it. So I always play a little bit in honor of Brian, my first DM, first game master, and lots of pleasant memories, lots of good memories with him, good friend. So that was my first game master, as well as the first RPG played this year. So we got a lot more to talk about over the next couple of weeks as we finish out RPG A Day 2023, and then hopefully I have a few ideas for some podcasts to maybe throw out in September to kind of get the ball rolling on what I normally do, which is talk about games I'm interested in, games I run, books, comic books, television shows. I've been loving the new Star Trek stuff that's been coming out, and so have re-energized myself as a Trekkie, as sort of the Star Wars and Marvel stuff has sort of hasn't gone away, but it's certainly slowed down. Although I am looking forward to Ahsoka coming up in a few weeks. So, all right, that's it for this episode of the Arcane A-List. Hey, we're going to clock in here at about 12 or 13 minutes by the time the outro is done. So, hey, if you're out there, haven't heard from you in a while, you obviously haven't heard from me for a while, reach out either through SpeakPipe or email, and let's get the conversation going again. Just because they crashed Anchor and didn't give us our easy message, go ahead and reach out to me. All right, take care out there. I'll be back. Thanks for listening to the Arcane Alienist podcast. The music you're hearing is Come and Get It by Scott Holmes Music. The cover art is by Dave Bone. Be sure to check out his stuff at ironseer.com. You can leave me a message. I have my SpeakPipe account linked to the show description. You can also send me an email at arcane.alienist@gmail.com. Just embed a voice memo, or I'll just read the text to your email during a future episode. Once again, thanks so much for listening.